Good morning, everyone. Your morning weather briefing for this July 31st. I think that in general today we have seen the models trend somewhat warmer and somewhat drier in the Corn Belt forecast for the 6 to 10 and 11 to 15 day periods. You can see that my own forecasts have trended somewhat in that direction as well, introducing a small area of much above normal temperatures to my 6 to 10 day temperature forecast. I do not have as big of an area of near and above normal rainfall for my 6 to 10 day precipitation forecast, and still am not fighting the models on their dry looks to the 11 to 15 day period. QPF discussion for the 1 to 5 day time frame. No disagreements with this forecast. Heavy rain is going to be seen over the next 5 days in southeastern portion of the nation, with some of that rain occurring at every day in this period. Most of the rain for the eastern Corn Belt shown there is going to be for today. Most of the rain shown for the northwestern Corn Belt is going to be for Friday and Saturday. Much drier weather pattern begins today for the hard red winter wheat belt. For the day 6 to 7 period, model differences pretty extreme once again this morning on the rainfall forecast in this period. I will consider this forecast as kind of a blend between the European and GFS models. It will be changing a lot in the days ahead. High temperatures yesterday, mild conditions across the Corn Belt, highs in the 70s and 80s. As far as rainfall is concerned, some nice rains once again across portions of the southeastern Corn Belt. Note the 1+ inch amounts in scattered areas there. Also some additional rains in the hard red winter wheat belt during the last 24 hours as well. There you can see those rains that occurred yesterday in the eastern Corn Belt, and also the rains that have occurred since yesterday morning in the hard red winter wheat belt. Radar early on this Tuesday, very nice rains still occurring this morning in portion of the eastern Corn Belt, and you can see those rains lifting eastward during the time that we are looking at right now. Don't want to spend a whole lot of time on the near-term forecast this morning. Want to spend most of the time on the 6 to 10 and 11 to 15 day forecast, as that is where we are going to be seeing the markets focus most of their attention today. Again, we have seen the models in general have drier trends and warmer trends versus what they showed yesterday morning in the case of the GFS model, or even yesterday afternoon in the case of the European model. Look at the GFS rainfall forecast for the August 4th through 8th time frame. From yesterday morning, extensive area of big rains in the Corn Belt. This morning, any rainfall in just northern and eastern portion of the Corn Belt, with a big portion of the region getting little or nothing. That's a 24-hour change. How about some 12-hour changes from the European model? From its output from yesterday afternoon, not going for big rains, but most of the region had at least some rains, with some areas getting some decent totals. This morning, almost nothing in most of the region. Again, that is a change on just a 12-hour forecast. An even bigger point of market interest this morning will be the extreme heat that both the GFS and European operational models are now showing for middle and latter portions of the 6 to 10 day period. Look at these high temperature forecasts from the latest runs of the two models for next Wednesday, August 8th. GFS model showing a big area of 95 to 105 plus degree heat across a big portion of the western Corn Belt. You have to obviously dismiss that. That is extreme heat that almost never verifies from that model. But look at the European model for that same date. Doesn't have the extreme heat like the GFS model, but note that it is also showing a big area of 95 to 100 degree heat, and even an area of 100 plus degree heat along the Iowa and Missouri border. Now, how much of this can we believe? Well, let's first of all break down that European forecast. Note the heat that it shows on its forecast today for the August 8th time frame. And again, I'm showing it on this graphic on the right-hand side. There is this morning's forecast. Note, though, what it was showing just 12 hours ago. No 100 degree heat, not even any 90 degree heat, most of the Corn Belt just in 70s and 80s. A huge change in the European model on just a 12-hour forecast. You can see that type of a change when you're looking at the 500 millibars. Yesterday afternoon's European model. Ridge of high pressure in the Rockies, trough in the eastern portion of the nation. This morning, the exact opposite. Trough in the west, big ridge in the east. Just huge changes on the European model on a 12-hour forecast. So even though it agrees with the extreme heat in the 6 to 10 day period with the GFS model, can it be believed? Well, let's break it down a little bit further. Look at the European model's 500 millibar forecast for 1 o'clock in the afternoon on August 8th. Again, that's that Wednesday time frame that we've been looking at from recent slides. European model, dome of high pressure in southeastern portion of the nation. Obviously some above normal heights dominating the Corn Belt at that same time. But look at the European ensemble for that same period. Dome of high pressure not in the eastern portion of the nation, but in the southwestern portion of the nation, and for the Corn Belt, more of a northwesterly flow aloft. The European ensemble would still clearly be warmer than normal and would feature some high temperatures in the 80s and 90s in the Corn Belt, but would it have the extreme heat shown by the European operational model? It certainly would not. So in general, I think you have to dismiss the extreme heat shown by the European operational model for the August 8th timeframe as well. So let's break it down and try to talk about from some forecast specifics, which obviously are going to be very low confidence in nature given the extreme nature of the models this morning, given how much the models have changed in just a 12 or 24-hour time frame. Looking first of all at rainfall for later on this week and during the 6 to 10 day period. Still believed it to be a situation where by the time we get to Friday night, we'll start to see some ring of fire activity as far as thunderstorms are concerned in the Corn Belt. Probably going to be seen mostly at that time in northwestern portion of the Corn Belt. There you can see the European operational model, the GFS, European operational, Canadian model, all suggesting some thunderstorm activity starting to work into northwestern portion of the Corn Belt for Friday night from ring of fire activity. As we get towards 7 o'clock in the morning on Sunday, European model indicating some rain, GFS some rain as well, Canadian model really not too much, but there's the European ensemble suggesting some rain, ring of fire activity in some portion of the western and northwestern Corn Belt. Let's look at 7 o'clock in the morning on Monday. European model at that time, nothing. GFS a little bit. Note though the European ensemble indicating a broad area of rainfall chances, even a relatively decent rainfall threat at that time along the Iowa, Minnesota, Wisconsin border area, while at the same time its ensemble shows nothing. Makes you wonder about that dry European model output. Let's look at 7 o'clock in the morning on August 7th. European model nothing, indicating a lot of heat moving back into the Corn Belt. GFS kind of the same thing, heat moving back into the Corn Belt, any rainfall just in the far north. Note the European ensemble though, not nearly as much heat, still indicating a broad area of rainfall chances in the Corn Belt at that time. So overall, as far as my own rainfall forecast is concerned, I'm dismissing the drier looks from the European and GFS operational models in the 6 to 10 day period, going more towards ensemble forecast for that time frame. But again though, even my own forecast has trended a little bit drier in the 6 to 10 day period. But that said, still going for some normal to above normal rainfall in eastern and northeastern portions of the Corn Belt for the 6 to 10 day time frame, basing that mainly off of the ensemble forecast from the GFS, from the Canadian model, even from the European ensemble as well. Don't think that the 6 to 10 day period is going to be completely dry. Believe that there can be ring of fire activity on most any day in that time frame, getting started as early as Friday night and continuing through the end of the 6 to 10 day period. But again, want to emphasize that even with that activity in mind, my own forecast has trended drier today for the 6 to 10 day period. Believe that there can be some rain in the Corn Belt on any day during that time frame. Ring of fire activity on most any day could be producing locally heavy rains in some areas, but in general, we are just seeing the models trending a little bit drier in today's outlook for the 6 to 10 day period. For the 11 to 15 day time frame, it still looks to be a situation where we're going to be looking at a northwesterly flow aloft with a dome of high pressure in southwestern portions of the nation. There's the August 10th forecast from the European model. There's the August 14th forecast, both times indicating a dome of high pressure in southwestern portion of the nation with the jet stream still flowing directly over the Corn Belt. In my mind, that's still a situation where rain can fall in the Corn Belt, but the models remain emphatic that it is not going to occur, and no more is that the case than with the GFS ensemble. Not only is the GFS ensemble going for below normal rainfall for the 11 to 15 day period, it is actually going for no rain at all in that time frame throughout the 11 to 15 day period in a big portion of the Corn Belt. That is incredibly rare to see on an 11 to 15 day forecast in the summertime period. So while I still have reservations about how dry the models are going for the 11 to 15 day period, I am still definitely not going to fight them, and that is especially the case when you have a GFS ensemble suggesting no rain at all for a big portion of the Corn Belt in that time frame. As far as specifics of my temperature forecast is concerned, I do believe that warmer than normal temperatures are going to be returning to a big portion of the Corn Belt starting this Saturday. As we get towards the middle of next week, again, that August 8th time frame, that is when the GFS and European operational models this morning are suggesting extreme heat. Clearly, I do believe that above normal temperatures are going to be seen during that time frame, and in fact, once we see above normal temperatures this Saturday in the Corn Belt, we should see above normal temperatures dominating the Corn Belt for the remainder of the 2-week time frame. But you can see on this European ensemble that it is not suggesting the extreme heat anomalies that are shown by the GFS and the European operational models this morning. Those two model runs, the extreme heat that they are showing, look for that to get a lot of marketplace attention this morning, given the type of heat that they are showing and given the rare agreement on that type of heat that they are showing. In my mind, though, they are both too extreme. I do believe that we're going to be seeing some above normal temperatures be widespread in the Corn Belt starting this Saturday through the end of the 2-week time frame. Maybe a little bit of much above normal temperatures at times, but I cannot be as extreme on the heat in the 6 to 10 day period as the GFS and European operational models are showing this morning. Internationally for this morning, below normal rainfall for the next 2 weeks across a big portion of the summer row crop areas of the former Soviet Union. A lot of that area seeing nothing at all for the next 10 days. It is still a very dry forecast for western portion of Europe over the next 2 weeks. A lot of France and Germany probably seeing next to nothing for the next 10 days. A lot of heat still in the forecast there as well. Note the well above normal temperatures that are going to be seen across much of Europe for the duration of the 2-week time frame. A lot of that heat is going to be seen in the over the next 10 days. 90s in Germany for today, tomorrow, then 90s in France for Thursday through early portion of next week. For next Tuesday, note the extreme heat that the European model is showing for France, a big area in France that day, seeing high temperatures above 95 degrees. Most of the good rain in spring wheat areas of Russia going to be to the north of that area for the next 10 days. Forecast is trending a little bit wetter for the Chinese corn and soybean areas. Most of the rain in the near term going to be in Heilongjiang in Manchuria. Then to the south of there, some better rains for the 6 to 10 and 11 to 15 day periods. Generally below normal rainfall for the North China Plain. The driest of those conditions is going to be in week 1. Lots of above normal temperatures for the North China Plain for the next 2 weeks. Fairly dry forecast, especially for southern portion of the Canadian prairies for at least the next 10 days, if not longer than that. Some decent rain is going to be seen in Australian wheat areas for especially Western Australia, South Australia, and Victoria, especially for the next 10 days. And finally for this morning, still some problems with the Indian monsoon. Any above normal rainfall for the next 2 weeks just going to be in northeastern portions of that country. That's what I have for your Tuesday. Everyone have themselves a great day.